All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into what we call the glass house of residence life. You know the drill, right? Running out for late night snacks in your pajamas means you are, technically speaking, still on the clock. If you work in student housing, you know exactly what I mean. You're always visible. And honestly, that visibility comes with a massive amount of influence. So we're going to break down the core components of professional role modeling, pulling straight from the source material to see exactly how your everyday behavior literally shapes the residential experience for everyone around you. So, to kick things off, let's look at how we actually define this. Look, it's incredibly easy to just tape up a policy poster, right? Or to tell your team to be supportive. But professional role modeling, that's about actually walking the walk. It means consistently demonstrating the exact attitudes, behaviors, and values that you expect of everyone else through your own actions. Because in student development, what you do matters infinitely more than what you say. It's all about that follow through. To really unpack this, we're looking at 6 core areas today. First, the power of role modeling. Second, the personal foundation. Then, navigating interpersonal dynamics, action and accountability, why your behavior actually matters, and finally, reflecting on your practice. Let's get right into it. Starting off with Section 1, the power of role modeling and setting the tone. Now, whether you're a senior RA, a grad assistant, or a residence coordinator, this quote really hits the nail on the head. Students and staff are constantly learning from your actions, not just your words. Your behavior is literally the drop of water that ripples out to set your community's standards and your workplace culture. You're the benchmark. Students and staff are constantly watching you to figure out what's acceptable, what's encouraged, and what the real values of the community actually are. Okay, moving on to Section 2, the personal foundation, focusing on the internal self. Because let's be real, before you can effectively lead others, you have to manage yourself, right? Abstract concepts like integrity and growth become super real when you put them into action. Think about integrity. It means doing the right thing when absolutely no one is watching, like actually documenting a friend's policy violation with the exact same fairness you'd apply to any other resident. And true role models, they have a growth mindset. They don't pretend to be perfect. Instead, they proactively ask for feedback. Just simply asking a supervisor, hey, what's one thing I could improve this month? Well, that demonstrates a massive commitment to professional development and just a genuine openness to change. Now, a huge part of this personal foundation relies on one absolutely critical concept: emotional intelligence. Without this, all those other traits we just talked about, they can easily fall apart the second you're under pressure. And that brings us to emotional maturity. This means managing your stress effectively, modeling resilience, and responding thoughtfully instead of just impulsively reacting. In practice, this looks exactly like dealing with a totally chaotic 2 a.m. emergency lockout and staying perfectly composed. Actually, scratch that, it's not just about staying composed, it's about being the anchor. When everyone else is panicking, your ability to regulate your own emotions and reassure others is the ultimate display of professional role modeling. All right, zooming out to Section 3, navigating interpersonal dynamics and your relationships with others. So this is where your internal values meet the external world of your residents and your staff. Professional communication means actively listening, using the right tone, and managing conflict respectfully. Look, it's pretty easy to communicate well when things are going great, right? But the real test is when a resident is standing right in front of you, visibly furious, remaining calm and entirely solution-focused without escalating your own emotions. That isn't just about ending an argument. You are actively teaching that resident how to handle conflict in real time. And here's a really important one. Notice the vital difference here between being friendly and being friends. In residence life, those lines blur so quickly because, well, your home is literally your office. But to maintain fairness among everyone, you have to master this distinction. You want to build supportive, fair relationships, absolutely, but you have to maintain that professional authority at the same time. And a huge part of establishing those boundaries strictly means protecting confidentiality. You are going to be privy to highly sensitive situations. In practice, professional boundaries mean never sharing private conduct details with your peers or other residents. No matter how tempting that late-night desk gossip might be, and we all know it's tempting, you just can't cross that line. Okay, let's jump into Section 4, action and accountability, focusing on community impact. So we're moving from relationships to the actionable community standards that you uphold through your everyday work ethic. Accountability and work ethic aren't just about meeting your deadlines. It's about owning your mistakes without getting defensive and taking initiative before you're even asked. If you miss a task in the duty log, a true role model just acknowledges it and proactively creates a plan to fix it. If fall opening or massive duty weekend is coming up, a role model is punctual, totally prepared, and handling those administrative tasks well before the deadline even hits. Furthermore, we've got visibility. This means showing up consistently to build those authentic relationships. You know, when you show up to a low attendance program just to support your team, even when it's not technically required, you signal to those residents that their community matters. Your presence speaks volumes, for sure. Now let's tie this all together in Section 5, Why Your Behavior Matters, or what we call the ripple effect. Just look at how this progression builds. Because students mirror what they observe, your repeated behaviors directly build the team culture. In turn, that culture establishes crucial trust and credibility. And ultimately, that trust is what determines the overall safety, accountability, and the whole sense of belonging within your residential community. Your professionalism is literally shaping their entire residential experience from the ground up. It's a real game changer. Finally, let's wrap things up with Section 6, reflecting on your practice and your next steps. Honestly, you might want to take a screenshot of these reflection questions. Seriously, use them as a daily diagnostic tool for your leadership. Ask yourself, what behaviors do I model that I actually want my staff or residents to repeat? How do I respond when I mess up? How do I keep my professionalism intact, even when I am just incredibly frustrated? And in what ways am I setting the gold standard for accountability? Ultimately, as you step back into your halls today, I want to leave you with this one vital question. What does your physical presence communicate to your community? Do they see a stressed-out, avoiding administrator, or do they see resilience and integrity in action? You are always building a culture. The only question is, what kind of culture are you choosing to build today? Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and we'll see you next time.